Look at this very interesting map. Every pin you see on this map is of an illegal billboard located or recorded in eThekwini, KwaMashu, eMlazi, KwaDabeka, Hammersdale, Phoenix. But here's the thing, they're still there. Zero enforcement has been documented on these illegal billboards, and that's the story.
This week, the city of Johannesburg intensified its crackdown on illegal billboards, removing 10 unauthorized advertising structures in a joint operation stretching from Bryanston Shopping Centre along Winnie Mandela Drive towards Sandton.
Outdoor advertising in South Africa almost operates like a de facto unregulated market. Billboards go up where the traffic is, right? Money flows and the law only shows up in certain neighborhoods. It's basically a battle for who is going to win the most eyes in the most lucrative areas. And the reality is, if you drive past a billboard every day, the likelihood that it's illegal is very, very high. South Africa's out-of-home advertising industry is worth about 4.5 billion a year, and roughly 65% of it is concentrated to a certain number of companies. And this out-of-home industry is huge because a prime highway site, for example, could go upwards of 100,000 rands, and the biggest digital sites could go upwards of 350,000 rand. So when you see a billboard, you're not just seeing street furniture. These are massive, high cash assets sitting in public space. And that's why illegality has become such a common rationale in this space. Right, to just give you an example, in Ekurhuleni and Johannesburg, the maximum fine for an illegal billboard could go up to 200,000 rand, with the lowest amount you could be fined for being just $1,000. So the incentives are quite obvious, right? Build first, earn immediately, you'll fight it later when the money is rolled in. Now, the most extreme example of this is on the R21 going out of OR Tambo International Airport, South Africa's first impressions highway. Premium positioning because you come off the flight and that is the first road you're hitting. Premium positioning, premium pricing, and according to SANRAL, not a single billboard on this corridor is legal, which is insane. About 78 illegal billboards on one corridor. And when that became public knowledge, you would have expected some sort of crackdown, right? But that wasn't the situation. The illegal operators were actually given about 21 days to register their structures, and by the time the deadline came, not a single one of the operators actually complied. Not one. Now here's where the system breaks. Not because there's no law, but because there's too much law pulling in different directions. SANRAL says billboards visible from national roads needs their authorization, but the Constitution says public advertising is a municipal competency. And SANRAL's own regulations actually say that where a municipality has bylaws, those bylaws take precedence over their own rules. So operators are obviously going to exploit this little loophole that exists. They argue we only need municipal approval. SANRAL argues the SANRAL Act still stands. Like, what's happening? And because that jurisdiction question hasn't been cleanly settled in the constitutional courts, the gap becomes a business model. Right? South Africa's laws quite literally create loopholes for unlawfulness. Okay, so you're probably thinking, yeah, why doesn't the government just, move in and remove them? The legal pathway is just too slow. The enforcement gets bogged down for years. Now let's come back to the map, because this is where location intelligence exposes the real story. Enforcement is not evenly distributed. The attention clusters in high-profile corridors and high-profile routes. The R21, Sandton, Bryanston, Fourways, Bedford View, the big visibility areas. Now let's compare that to eThekwini. We have documented illegal billboards in townships and working class areas, like I said, eMlazi, KwaMashu, KwaDabeka, Hammersdale. And again, zero enforcement documented here. It just means the complaints aren't heard the same way. The political infrastructure to push enforcement doesn't exist in the same way. The map does not lie, right? It just tells you whose neighborhood gets protected, and there's one more layer that people actually miss. Some of these illegal billboards are not just breaking planning laws, some of them are actually kokoteling electricity. In January 2026, Johannesburg and City Power found illegal connections of billboards tapping directly into the municipal grid without paying, right? And a single large digital billboard can consume around 20,000 kilowatt hours per year. That's 3 times more than the typical household. Eskom recorded that about just over 13,000 gigawatt hours was lost to electricity theft nationally. Now, there isn't a specific number for the billboards for this, right? No one's actually measuring it, but that there is part of the problem. The absence of that measurement is the point, because the biggest punchline of this whole story is spatial. There is no public map of billboards locations in South Africa. No municipal public registry, no GIS layer. The best data sits with the private guys, right? And they care about their own stuff, and rightly so, right? Which means ordinary people can't see the full system, right? And you can't manage what you can't see. And that's another loophole that everyone could exploit. In Johannesburg alone, an estimated 78% of all the billboards are illegal. And the city estimates about a revenue gap of approximately 1.7 billion, right, in money that should be going back into the municipality. That's roads not being surfaced, that's clinics not being supplied, libraries not being funded. I could go on. Illegal billboards extract value from public infrastructure, roads, electricity, social infrastructure, visual space, and they contribute almost nothing back. Cape Town proves that this doesn't have to be the outcome, right? They have very clear bylaws, clear enforcement, a market operator that you can actually engage with. So what's happening in Johannesburg and in eThekwini is not actually inevitable. So here's what I want to leave you with, right? The billboard you drive past every morning is not just background noise. It's a location decision made by someone who calculated that your road has sufficient enough traffic to monetize and that the state will actually not stop them. So what do you think is actually going on here? Is it an institutional incapacity? Is it corruption? Industry capture? Let me know in the comments and I'll see you guys on the next one.